Hey, hey. Welcome. Give the rooms a few minutes to populate here. We're going to get going at 7 on time. I got NCAA basketball to watch tonight. There we go. As always, be sure to give StreamYard your credentials, pardon me, when you enter the room because it makes it easier for me to respond to questions if I see a name behind it. Let's see here. Who's in? Hello, Brian. Oh, wow. We're starting to fill up pretty fast here. That's great. All right. So it's 7 o'clock. Let me get going. First of all, I haven't released the route yet, but I want to tell everybody what I'm going to do is I'm going to release the route all at once this year. Hello, Jeff. So instead of releasing it piecemeal like a day at a time, I've basically got it put together. And so it's just a matter of moving a few waypoints around and changing the direction of some trails, a little bit of new trail that we're putting in there. Hello, Jim. So it won't take me that long to do it. So I'm just going to sit down and do it all in one fell swoop. And you may expect that sometime in the next few weeks. I will certainly have it all out before April 1st. So again, the good news is I'm going to release the route all at once this year. I've been working on it. It's almost ready to go. And hello, Brian. Hello, Tyler. So it should be, and Andrew, it should be ready to go pretty soon. We'll just do it all at once. Then I'll give you guys a week or so to look through it, and we'll do a marathon session one night, a question and answer session where you can answer any question you want. I'm not going to go through it the way I used to day by day, just because I do that, and then somebody asks questions later on that were already answered in that, so I might as well just put it out there, let it simmer for a little while. Then one night I'll come on and say, okay, tonight is just questions about the route. Tell me what you want. And then, hello, Sean. And then I'll do another one for equipment. I'll do a show just where we ask equipment questions and stuff like that. I see in the forum that there's quite a bit of what I regard as really useful information that people are putting out there. A lot of tour vets are really stepping up and providing what I think is excellent information about the tour. Hello, Brooks. So the main thing that I wanted to do tonight is tell you that second tranche of individuals I told was ready to go sometime around the first of the year. Those were people that I knew somehow. I had some sort of personal connection with you. You wanted to go. All you needed to do is basically send me an email, tell me that you've read everything and, tell me a little bit about your plans, and then you'd be ready to go. I think I got back to everybody. But what I'm going to do is this. I noticed that not everybody sent the email to the place I said. Once again, there's only one place I'm answering email anymore, and it's my own email, martin.hackworth@gmail.com. martin.hackworth@gmail.com. The Motorcycle Jazz emails, none of that stuff works anymore. I don't pay any attention to it. I'm trying to disentangle myself from all these Facebook pages and all these different emails and stuff that I have. And hello, Scott. So martin.hackworth@gmail.com. That's where you need to send it to. So I noticed that people were trying to DM me and stuff like that. None of that stuff's going to work. You got to send an email to martin.hackworth@gmail.com. Now, if you did that and you didn't hear back from me, please do it again. I'm going to leave the second tranche open one more week. So if you tried to send me an email and it went to the wrong place, or a bunch of them went to spam, and I don't understand why that happened, but I check my spam every few days, and I saw some Tour of Idaho things in there, so perhaps I might have missed it in that somewhere. Anyway, you got one more week, so if I know you somehow, and I know all or most of the people that are on your team, you can be in this second tranche of people that I know that I think are probably in pretty good shape. Now, if I know you and I don't like you, maybe you ought to wait for the third tranche, but you should be good to go. And all of those who I responded to and said, thumbs up, you're good to go, I saw that people had started registering. So all that stuff's great. Again, I'm not going to do the calendar until after we finish all the registrations. I'm just going to cry one time this year, put it all in, and I'm going to ask that your information all be good when I put the calendar up around June 1st sometime. So that's most of what I had to tell you tonight. I'm going to extend the second tranche one more week, and then starting next Monday, is the third tranche. Those are people, hello, Brett, And let's see, I think I said hello, Scott. Thank you for showing up. So the third tranche are people that I don't know. And in order to get into the tour this year, this is invitation only, and I'm the only person that can extend an invitation. So those of you who've been around for a while know the reasons why. I want this one last year to just go as smooth as it can be. So to get into this third tranche, if I don't know you, we've never met, we've never talked, there are a lot of people out there I don't know that are wonderful people, and I'm just not going to live long enough to get to meet all of you. So the fact that I don't already know you doesn't mean anything. But what you do have to do is get somebody I know to write a letter of recommendation for you. And I've started seeing some of those, and that's awesome. So you're going to have to prevail upon somebody somebody that I know. The motorcycle world's a small enough place. You got to know somebody I know. And send me a letter of recommendation. If that doesn't work, then you let me know, and maybe we can talk and I can get a feel for what you're about. But the one thing that does disappoint me already is no matter how many times I say it, everybody's got to be in that Facebook thing. Everybody's got to be in the Motorcycle Jazz Forum. I'm still seeing people that are trying to register, and that's not all true. I'm getting people that have tried to join that Facebook page for the umpteenth time, and they still make the same mistake. They either don't answer all the questions, or I can't find any motorcycle content. About once a week I get on there and look and see, who's waiting to be led into either the forum or into the Facebook page. And in the forum, I told you, look, the more information that you fill in and that little form that you get to fill out, you can skip all that stuff if you want to, but the more information you put in there, the less I and the automated screening program think that you're some sort of a bot. And I get dozens of requests a day to join the forum. So it's not like it's a minuscule problem that never happens. There's always bots trying to join that program, and they're pretty good. These days, bots are pretty good at artificial intelligence and getting past the CAPTCHAs and all that. So I screen everybody. If you look like a real person to me, if I Google up your email address and it comes up, or you filled in some of that stuff that I suggested in the forum, you fill in if you're having trouble registering, then it's pretty much automatic. I scan it, boom, you're good to go. It's the same with the Facebook forum. It's simple. The Tour of Idaho forum, excuse me. It's real simple. Answer all the questions the way they need to be answered and make sure I can see dirt bike content on your page. There's some people that even change their profile picture, which I think is awesome. That really helps me out. I like all of you already because I don't have to look very hard in order to figure out what's going on. So, main things again. Let me just reiterate the main points. I'm going to release the whole route sometime in the next few weeks, all at once. I'll let it sit out there for a few days. Then we'll do a marathon tour Monday where I answer any and all questions that you might have about the route. 2, I'm going to extend the registration deadline for the second tranche for one more week because I have a feeling that there were more folks in that tranche than I got emails from. So I want to make sure that everybody that's in that second tranche gets a chance to get their date before I open it up to the third tranche. And I think there might be a lot of people in that third tranche. One of you DM'd me the other day. I know a lot of you pretty well. We're connected on Facebook and stuff, and we like each other's posts and DM back and forth. Somebody DM'd me the other way and said, "Man, are you all right? You're not really participating in this very much," and I am completely all right. In fact, I'm having the time of my life specifically because I'm not participating in this very much. We started a Tour of Idaho way back in 2005, and that was a long doggone time ago. And for me, it's run its course. It is an event that will stay. And one of the reasons that I didn't want to monkey with the route too much this year is the route this year is going to be the legacy route. So the route that I established this year is what it's going to be for time immemorial. It's going to be this way from now on. So the route, a few twists and turns aside, if trails get closed and I become aware of them, then, we'll route around those. But we're going to have a route, some options, and then that's it. And so anybody can just go ride it on their own terms after this year. Everything will be a T2, so to speak. Those of you who know me pretty well know that I pretty much despise Facebook, especially most social media in general. I put a lot of stuff out there. You might think that's funny because I post stuff all the time, but I have a lot of in-laws. I don't live very close to anybody in my family. In fact, we don't live very close to anybody in my wife's family either. And my in-laws, my aunts, my uncles, my cousins, they all really love those pictures of the kids. So we do post a lot of stuff. And I have a lot of old friends. We post things back and forth, and that's kind of cool. But in general, I really despise Facebook. In fact, those of you who know me well know I'm in Facebook jail right now for for something that I did. And you know what? I deserve to be there. I deserve to be in every Twitter jail, Facebook jail, all of them, because those companies are awful. And I just want to disentangle myself from as much of this stuff as possible. That's my goal. That being the case, the motorcyclejazz.com Facebook page, I'm going to archive it in about another month. It's going to go away. I just don't want to deal with it anymore. I'm always getting all these crazy DMs. There's always people that are trying to post all kinds of weird stuff on it and everything. It's just it's an aggravation that I do not need. I will maintain the forum, and I'm going to find some people to be moderators for the forum, but I'll continue to pay for the forum and keep it up. And we'll let the Tour of Idaho Facebook page stay up. I'm going to find some people to moderate that. And I will probably disinvite myself from both of those things and just let them rock and roll. But I'm doing great. I'm having a time of my life. My wife and I are playing a bunch of shows. We got a whole bunch of shows that we're getting ready to do here locally, which is something that I haven't played locally in 20 years. You get a little bit, if you're a musician, you get tired of your own local music scene first. And that sure happened to me. You know, we played every weekend for years and years and years. And around the turn of the century, there's bullshit in playing music too. And it just gets to be too much after a while. You can't stand it anymore. And so I voluntarily left the seat. And Megan and I have played almost exclusively out of town since we started doing our deal. But we got a couple offers we can't refuse to play here locally. So we're getting ready for some shows. And so rather than be spending a bunch of time on social media, we sit down and rehearse about 3 or 4 hours a day, just trying to get ready for the stuff to make it as good as it can be. So thank you very much for asking, but I'm rocking the world. My kids are doing good. We homeschool our kids too. And so that means I get up in the morning, go have some coffee, come home, and I'm pretty much the homeschooler in chief since Megan has to go to work. Now, do you have any questions about what I put out there tonight? You know, the second and third tranches, the release of the tour dates. I went over where you're going to be staying the last time, and I think we've all got that. And I've still got the list here, so let me go through it again. Night 0, Malad. Night 1, Pocatello. Night 2, Arco. Night 3, Leadore. Night 4, Mackey. Night 5, Smoky Bar Store. Night 6, Chalice. Night 7, Salmon. Night 8, North Fork. Night 9, North Fork. Night 10, either Elk City or Lowell. Night 11, St. Regis or Superior. Night 12, Wallace. And 13 is the day you finish. Now, I do have some news about a place to stay in Pocatello. So a buddy of mine has just opened his own Airbnb, and it's right downtown. It's in the middle of everything. It's in the middle of good restaurants. There's places to park your bike that are safe. It's a wonderful place. He's got like an entire floor that's an Airbnb that he rents out. The place is called Purpose Tea. And you can look it up on the internet, Purpose Tea, and it's called the Purpose Center. And the fellow that runs it is a buddy of mine named S.C. Yaden. Really super, super, super nice guy. He and his whole family are hands-on in the place there. When you walk in, whoever you're dealing with at the front desk or if you go over to the little restaurant that they have, it's all his family that works in there. SC has put $1 zillion into this place. It's the best historic renovation I've ever seen. And he jumped through all of the idiot hoops you got to jump through, historic preservation commissions that don't want you to get rid of some 150-year-old paint that's probably contaminated with all kinds of crap. He jumped through all those hoops. And this place is beautiful. It is one of the nicest buildings I've ever seen. And one entire floor is an Airbnb. So if you're still looking for a place in Pocatello, I highly recommend Purpose Tea. It's my daily hangout, too. I go down there for lunch, and then there's a new coffee shop just around the corner that was just opened by another friend of mine, Gate City Coffee, which is run by a guy named Bill Kelvey, who's a buddy. And so that's downtown, and Pocatello's coming back, and I recommend those two places for you. And we'll probably, the supplemental CPs, we'll make sure that that if you visit Craig or Bill, even if you don't stay at Craig's place, you can get some supplemental CPs by going there. College Market's off the tour this year, and trying to think if there's any place else. You're not going to have a bunch of time, so I'm going to take some of them off just because it would be too hard for you to get to them. I also came to a decision about what I'm going to do day one versus day two. I am not going to make day one significantly longer. Once again, because I want this to be the legacy route, and I kind of, if I make day one a whole lot longer, I'm really not happy about making that a legacy route. So what I'm going to do is day one will have a few changes in it. There's a few little things I want to do to it, but it's going to stay basically the way that it was last year. It's long enough as it is, so that'll be just fine. And day two, however, will be significantly different. And it's not going to be as long as day two used to be because I want to get you into ARCO early. Day one's a pretty long day, so let's make day two a little bit easier. And day day two last year was a nightmare. It was harder than day one. But the way we're doing it this year, that won't be a problem. I still think that day one will be I think the day one will be pretty much your longest, hardest day. If you get through that, you should be able to do everything else. Now, the hardest trails aren't on day one, but there's a whole bunch of kind of modestly hard trail. You got to cover a lot of technical ground in day one. Some of the stuff on day two, on day three, day five, day seven. There's some days ahead that have some individual hard trails, but I don't think you're ever going to be pushing yourself as hard for an entire day as you are in day one. I've also got some challenge sections this year and some bonus sections that are going to blow your mind that weren't on last year that we're putting on this year. Again, since this is going to be the legacy route, I want to make sure that the kitchen sink is out there. So you'll have a whole bunch of different route options. If fire pops up, you should easily be able to route yourself around that fire and get the challenge points that you need. Let's see. 2 people asked about music. If you go to Circle of Fifths MM, I have a Facebook page, Circle of Fifths, and there's also a YouTube page for Circle of Fifths MM, which stands for Martin and Megan. It's got our flyers, and we've got at least one upcoming date there, and we're getting ready to put some more. And then this summer, we're going on a tour across the entire country. It's going to be a blast. That should be a ton of fun. Okay, may we review your initial thoughts on returning teams like ours? What additional trails they would need to ride on day one? What's your team? It says anonymous Facebook user, so I don't know who you are. Put a name on it, and I can answer the question. The music stuff, just DM me if you need any more information, and I'll straighten you out. All right, Facebook user. Oh, Team 25, Benjamin Cipher. Ben, I wouldn't worry about it too much. I'll go through all that with you when you come up. You're a 2-person team. Is that correct, Ben? I know there's a little bit of a lag here. If you're a 2-person team, I think what you're probably worried about is, am I going to have to ride Reed Canyon? And no, you won't. You'd have to be a returning 3-person team probably before I made you do that. Now, I know I did that last year for 2-person teams, but this year I think I'm going to let you off the hook. I'll have some bonus sections that you can do that maybe make up for that. Again, I am going to change day one a little bit this year, so there'll be some opportunities, and I think that did both of you come last year? Oh, you and Michael Thompson. You were both here last year, and my thinking right now is that you will probably not have to ride Reed Canyon if that's what you're worried about. We'll have some other things you can do. There's some other bonus loops I'll have out there, and I'm thinking the only people that might have to do day 3 or might have to do Reed Canyon are people that are a returning 3-person team, the way it's looking this year. All right. Anybody else? My wife's coming home in about a half an hour, and then I got to turn off college basketball, and we got to rehearse. This winter, let's talk about weather a little bit while you guys are here. it's been colder than a well digger's fanny, and there's feet of snow in my yard right now. First time I've seen this since I've lived in Idaho. The first 2 winters I lived in Idaho 30 years ago, there was a lot of snow, but not as much snow as there is in my yard right now. I haven't seen bare ground in my yard since the middle of December. Tonight it's supposed to get down to the single digits again, which has been very, very, very common. We have a lot of single digits. I get up really early in the morning to go out and feed the animals, and typically when I go outside it's 6 or 7 degrees. Now that, in the mountains, sometimes it's actually warmer down in the valley than it is up here, and sometimes it's colder up here than it is down the valley. It depends upon, when you live in a mountain, you can get inversion conditions sometimes. But I've been pretty steadily looking at single-digit temps, and we've been getting 6 inches of snow a week. Now, occasionally it'll warm up and some of it melts, so there's ice underneath everything in my yard right now. Because it's been such a cold and long winter, at night, I can walk out sometime, and if I turn on all the security lights, like what'll happen is my security alarms will start going off at night sometime. The motion detectors, I've got them out in the barn, I've got them all around the property, and I'll turn on the camera, and I'll see all this stuff moving around in the dark. You walk outside, turn on the light, there's 40, 50 deer in the yard, there's moose, elk, everything has come into my yard this year. So what happened was, because I have llamas and goats, I've got a lot of hay, and it's in their enclosure. And that enclosure's got a pretty stout fence. It's all cattle paddle fence, and it's bolted in pretty good. And it's got a big 2-inch, well, not 2-inch, a 1-inch strip of horse tape across the top with a 30-mile charger on it. Well, the elk don't care about that at all. They tore down my fence. I walk out there one night, and my animals are all wandering around everywhere else. The fence is in tatters, and a couple of tons of hay that I had put in to get my animals through the winter, that pile looks like half as big as it was a couple of days before. So it's been pretty entertaining. That's, going out at night in my underwear, shooting guns in the air and stuff, trying to run all the animals off. And that's how I've been entertaining myself during the coldness of winter. So I had to get more hay. I had to get a few more tons of hay, bring it in. And it turns out that because of the freeze-thaw, there's a sheet of ice approximately 1 to 2 inches thick everywhere in my yard with snow sitting over top of it. So I come in with the dually, got it in 4-low, everything locked up. It's got Posilock everywhere on all the axles. I got everything locked up. All the wheels are turning. But that trailer's, it's not 6-wheel. Well, it is 6-wheel drive because it's a dually, but it's not 8-wheel drive. That trailer's mighty heavy with all that hay. And I buried that freaking truck in the yard. And, God, it was comedy trying to get it out. We had to hook up the tractor and start pulling the trailer around and everything, but we finally got it out. But that's been a measure of how the severity of the winter here. Now, the good news is, all comedy aside, we have a hell of a snowpack this year. And the long-term weather forecasts I'm looking at look at moisture all the way up through June. So it's going to warm up and the snow will turn to rain, but we're going to have snowpack up high till really late, it looks like. Something really weird would have to happen for us not to have snowpack late. So this year, I'm not real sure that you first guys through aren't going to encounter some snow. There may be some things you can't ride because not only have they not been snowed, but they're under some snow. And I'll do what I did last year, which is I'm going to give you enough bonus opportunities that, like if you get way up north where that's typically a problem, that stuff between Lowell and Wallace, a lot of that stuff gets snowed in, pretty dense tree covers, and the north side of that, you can end up with snow pretty late in the season. I'll fix it up so that you have bonus sections that you could do elsewhere in the tour, so if you got to ride around some of that stuff, you can do it. All right. If a 2-man team turns into a solo run, would the remaining soloists need to carry the saw? Would a silky saw be okay, or would the remaining rider risk disqualification? You would risk disqualification, and furthermore, you would risk disqualifying yourself for not being able to finish. Look, when we first did the tour way back in 2005, we carried saws. And we started getting into, Silky's lighter saws because saws back in those days were really big and really heavy. And we tried everything. We tried electric saws. And I finally found a little arbor saw that I liked. And I used to have a rack on the back of my bike, and I got pictures of it where I'd just ride with that saw on that little flat rack on the back of the bike. Then over the years, I got more into the ultralight ethos, and we had a whole bunch of people out trying to saw ahead of folks. But the last few years, we've started riding more and more trails that are deeper into areas where very few people ride. And, even when I'm riding those things in the fall, I end up encountering lots of blowdown. So the chance that you can get through this without a saw are pretty minimal. So I think what the questioner may have been getting at is, maybe only one person has a saw mount on their bike and the other person doesn't. If your partner drops out, you're going to have to figure out something to do with that. If nothing else, you can stick it in a backpack. That's still the way I carry my saw about 50% of the time. I've got a system to mount it on the front, but a lot of times I just put it in a backpack. And, it's not like you were out deliberately sawing trail where hopefully the thing is going to be, you're going to be getting in and out all the time. Hopefully you're using that saw just for the occasional deadfall. But yes, this year I need to see a saw in every single picture that you upload. I'm going to be looking for your chainsaws in those selfies. All right. Yeah, there's a lot of elk around Pocatello right now. Yeah, Megan, drives to work at night, and she says she sees 30 or 40 of them on her way to Blackfoot. It's just incredible. An elk is a big, strong animal, and there's no fence that you're going to – you got to put up a hell of a fence. It's got to be 10 feet tall and before you're going to stop an elk. And I've got pictures of my fence just basically – it looks like Godzilla stepped on it, and it was just a bunch of elk out there trying to jump over it to get to that hay. And that horse zapper, they laughed at that. That didn't even slow them down. Okay, JR, day 11, 12 are days that you need a saw. JR, couldn't agree more, bud. Spoken by a guy who knows what he's talking about, too. JR and Andrew and the Spooners and all those way up north guys will tell you the same thing. This year, it's likely going to be really late before a lot of that stuff gets sawed. Now, I'll ask you guys, all you way up north guys, I noticed that the snowpack through most of Idaho is like over 150% of normal. But it looks to me like way up north, it's down around 100% of normal. I know there's a couple of you way up north guys that are watching this. What's your prediction about snowpack lasting late into the year? Just type it into the comments section if you have one. Well, we'll let it go another few minutes, and then I'm going to boogie. I'm very, very sorry if I've missed a DM or if I've missed an email or something like that. When you're trying to disentangle yourself from something, I promised myself this year that it's last year, but I'm going to try to give it as much attention as I have always given it. And that, that's not going to happen because I just have other things that I have to do now that I've never had to do before. I never homeschooled kids before. Keeps you busy. And at night, my wife and I have something to do every single night. But I'm trying my best. And if I miss you, or I look all the time and I see somebody has DM me like 3 weeks ago and I'm just now seeing it and I go, oh shit, I wish I'd answered that question. Okay. Andrew Hickson, the snow's going to be there for a while. That's what it looks like to me. Somebody else says high river crossings may also be an issue late into tour season. You are absolutely right. And when we go through the tour, I will identify the ones that I think you're going to need to use some caution in. One of the last times I did the tour back around 2013, last time I did a tour was 2015, I think. But in 2013, I almost drowned. It's the closest I've ever come to being really knackered on a dirt bike because I got pinned under my bike after falling off a side hill into a creek that was really high. Well, thank you very much. I try my best. It's not everybody is as lucky as I am. 66 years old, got little kids. It's awesome. And I'm not going to screw it up. All right. We'll keep it going here for another couple of minutes to see if there's any more questions. But if not, I'm going to let it go, and I'll be back with you in a few weeks. As soon as I get the route, again, released. And by the way, the Facebook page is the way I am communicating with you. So I'll probably also put something over in the forum. But the Facebook page, for a few reasons, is just a little bit more convenient with me. So when the route gets released, I'll put a notification up there. And we'll be good to go. And I'll try to get that done sooner rather than later. And at the very latest, it will be the end of March. All right. Thank you all for being patient with me. I really appreciate you putting up with me. I know it's difficult this year because I'm not as accessible as I used to be, but I assure you we're going to have a wonderful tour this year. The route is killer. It is a kick-ass route, and I think you guys are going to have a lot of fun with it. We're all going to have a lot of fun. We'll do the whole deal during the tour season. Now, I will be around during tour season. You won't have time to see me probably because you're going to be getting into Pocatello late that first night. You're going to be leaving early the next day. But I will, I'll be down at my normal coffee place. If you're staying downtown, you can walk around the corner and we can chat. But I will be here during tour season. But as I told everybody, I will not be here most of June. So we're going to leave sometime the first week of June. And we're not going to be back until a week or so before tour season starts. Now, I won't be completely out of touch during that time, but I will be touring the country. We're going to go on a big RV tour of the northern tier of states. The Mojave Trail is sweet this time of year. Yeah, I wanted to go this year. We were going to go next week, but we've got these shows coming up, and we're going to stay here instead and work on those shows. But I've done the Mojave Trail every year for 15, 20 years now. I love it. I really like riding in the desert. Who is it that went to do the Mojave Road? Andrew, you might need a portable timber sled kit this year. You got that right. Okay, D1's about the same. How will D2 be different? You'll learn when we go through the whole route. It's a little more involved than it was last year, but not incredibly so. All right. Thank you very much for putting up with me. I can't believe that there are bigger knuckleheads than me out there. You got to be a knucklehead to listen to a knucklehead like me. But from the bottom of my heart, I really do appreciate it. So I'll get the route. I know y'all are jonesing for the route and everything. I'll get it out there as quickly as I can. It's going to be not radically different from last year's route. So if you go back and look at what we did last year, you'll be in pretty good shape for this year. Don't send me questions about waypoints and stuff like that because we'll do all that at the proper time, which is after the route's released, and then we'll go through everything, leaving no stone unturned. Benjamin, Michael, and I are riding it later. Good for you. How early can a day one be pre-ridden? Average date. Well, I don't know that average date applies anymore. Back in the old days, when I first started doing the tour, July 4th, there was a snowdrift that you'd have a hard time getting through up on top of Oxford Peak. You might spend all day trying to get to the top of Oxford Peak. Then we started getting these low snow years, and, people were up there in June. And I think this year, I don't know if you're going to be able to do a pre-ride before June 1st. We'll have to see. We'll just keep we'll keep an eye out and all that stuff. Please do not go into those areas too early. The worst thing you can do, and mountain bikers are notorious for this. Most dirt bikers have a little bit more sense, but the worst thing you can do for a trail, to tear up trail tread, is to go in there when the snow's just melting and be back in there spinning your tires up those trails. So don't do it. Wait until the snow is pretty much cleared off. There's just a few drifts here and there. And I'll give you an idea. I look at these mountains every day, so I can pretty much tell you when I think it's going to be. But this year, you wouldn't be able to get over Chinese Peak, I think, until well after June 1st. I wouldn't be surprised if the drifts that block the road to the top of Chinese Peak aren't there after the 1st of June. All right. Be seeing y'all. Cheers.